So, what is actually wrong with Sohei? Well, everything, to be honest.
Bruh.
Sohei was designed around his souls. So everything down to the smallest detail was balanced around this mechanic. His inability to change from a light into a heavy and vice versa before the patch was also a deliberate choice to limit the fast and easy access to his souls. But that went down the drain. His atrocious amount of damage is also needed to keep the effectiveness of his 7th soul strike in check. He was given neutral hyper armor very early on into his life cycle in order to allow him to even get to his combo heavy finishers with his slow ass attacks. Just with this being said, most of you can already tell that there is something totally wrong with his design. The current version of Sohei we have in the game right now not only feels very clunky to play as for most players, but more importantly feels absolutely horrendous to play against. Not having fun while fighting a Sohei boils down to the following reasons. Due to his fast and easy access to neutral hyper armor, you are forced to play his game at his pace. This means that the conventional way of starting a fight just isn't viable when it comes to fighting a Sohei. Using normal attacks like lights and heavies could result in you getting hit by a hyper armor attack from the Sohei, leaving you with no momentum and at a severe disadvantage, making starting a fight out of neutral very difficult. I can't even count the amount of times I immediately smacked somebody over the head for being stupid enough to press any button while fighting against me. This creates a very unfun neutral game, where the only things that can somewhat reliably counteract Sohei's hyper armor is a front step bash, or, since the latest patch, a neutral guard break. Getting guard broken out of your startup not only feels bad for the Sohei, but having to rely on something as unreliable as guard break fishing also just doesn't feel rewarding for your opponent. You either press one button and get smacked over the head for it, or you interrupt Sohei's startup. Since his zone is the fastest attack that also cleaves the largest area around him, it is not untypical for Soheis to spam zones in group fights. And believe me if I say this, if you are even breathing the same air as him, you will get tagged by this zone attack. This leads to a lot of scenarios where beginner Soheis will keep interrupting their teammates' attacks, making fighting alongside this Beyblade of a hero feel very sluggish, since you not only have to watch out from your opponent's attacks, but also your damn teammates. Since I already mentioned cleaving attacks, let me ask you guys a question. What is Sohei's unblockable attack that can tag the most people? If you answered with none, well, I can't even blame you. With just how little area his heavy finishers cover, it is difficult to even hit one person with them. To no one's surprise, it is his fog. I have skewered through so many opponents with this thing, even though it is just an attack with a hitbox directly in front of him. Oh yeah, since we have already reached the topic of his combo heavy finishers, why is his combo finisher knife so damn awkward when it comes to applying bleed? It is the only attack that needs to finish the entire animation before applying any dot. This means that you won't be able to apply bleed through hyper armored attacks. This also means that you can't apply any bleed to somebody who is in revenge. But this isn't where the problems stop. Facing off against a Sohei with all souls is just ass. If you play duels, you will see each and every soul the Sohei has gained during the fight. You as a player have full control over how you're going to handle the Sohei. Will you take a risk and try to parry him in order to stop his momentum? Are you willing to sacrifice some life to deny his Senkai? All of these decisions and their consequences unfold in front of your eyes, making the whole getting one-shot part more bearable. Since, well, it is your fault after all. And if the round ends, he loses all of the souls anyways. So, this visual feedback and you having somewhat full control over how many souls the Sohei gains is entirely taken away from you when you play a mode such as Dominion. Since the Sohei will farm all of his souls off screen, the only feedback you will get of his existence is him screaming his lungs out across the map. And then he will use this new gained power to make his way towards you and wipe you off the goddamn map. For most players, there is no worse feeling than going onto a zone with this human chandelier already being there, just waiting to unleash his pocket nuke onto you as a punishment for just getting heavy parried. With the existence of his second feat, Soul Soother, Sohei becomes a literal boss fight by hitting you with a nuh-uh mid-fight and regenerating back to full HP. Oh, and the whole, yeah, let him deal little to no damage because his 7th Soul Strike gimmick? Well, you can throw that out the window and set it on fire while you're at it. Since his 3rd feat will let him harness the power of all the people who have been hit out of their 7th Soul Strike and make him into a heavy hitting hero that has basically no gaps in between attacks. I will say this, and I absolutely mean it. When having the perk Endurance up, with his 3rd feat Ancillary Might, Sohei becomes the strongest rushdown character in the game, since he never has to stop swinging. With those things in mind, people will generally avoid fighting a Sohei with 6 souls alone, since your chances of survival are very slim. The things I've mentioned up until now only apply when you actually see the Sohei. The most fun thing that can happen to you is getting wiped off the damn map while not even knowing the enemy team had a Sohei. Since I've already mentioned his feats, his first feat, Eye of the Demon, could possibly be the strongest first feat in the game, and is completely underrated to be honest. By the press of one button, you technically reduce the health of a target by 25%. This feat can be used from afar, meaning you can have an insane impact on a combat situation without even having line of sight to your opponent. All of these feats, all of this frankly bullshit design is needed to help Sohei. His first feat allows him to counteract his terrible damage output in order to even the playing field when facing an enemy. Without his second feat, he's absolutely useless in Dominion, since the animation for his 7th Soul Strike takes ages to finish, making using it anytime but during revenge pointless. His 3rd feat was given to him as an incentive to keep his souls, making his earlier weak attacks into something you should truly be afraid of. The 4th feat, Soul Waker, allows him to gain access to all of his souls at the press of a button. Yeah, I can't even argue why he needs that feat. It is just insane to be honest. Having the ability to hold another Senkai without any player input is just disgusting. 2 full heals during one fight or 2 insta-kills. Just utter bullshit. Since I've rambled on for some time now, let me summarize the main points to answer the question. What is wrong with Sohei? His very low damage and untypical way to optimally play him discourages many people from giving him a try. His fast and easy access to neutral hyper armor makes getting into a fight with a good Sohei a nightmare, with you constantly getting hit out of any attempt you make to start a fight. His feats also create a lot of extremely unfun situations for his opponents that also leave them with no counterplay. For example, if you want to kill a Sohei while he has 6 souls, you will have to do it twice, while always running the risk of you getting removed from the game by just getting heavy parried. His first feat also adds an insane, unconditionally very strong debuff to any target, with no ability to avoid it. All of this leads to a situation where Sohei is currently so broken that nerfing even one of his feats could potentially just kill him outright. Removing his hyper armor would also mean instant death for our poor warrior monk. On the other hand, overdoing a damage or a stamina buff could catapult Sohei into a completely overpowered state. Sohei needs a shift, and that is what I will be giving him in my next video. If you liked what I have talked about up until now, please consider subscribing in order to not miss out on the next video. If you'd like to share your opinion, please leave a comment, or if you want to reach out to me directly, come join my Discord server. Thank you guys for watching. With all of that being said, I have one more thing to say. Watch yourselves out there, okay?